Hello guys, Gemini here. Today I'll be making a video trying to address the question, what Korean lever should I start with? So just to preface this is for beginners. This will be a top 10, but the top 5 are definitely like the big ones I would recommend to beginners. Probably covering a top 10 just to answer some, do you see some other levers? You're like, well, what about this one? Just to kind of cover some bases there. So that being said, just know like this is definitely aimed at beginners, and this is like top 10 for beginners. This is not the top 10 best. This is just like the ones I would recommend to a newcomer to a Korean lever. So that being said, let's go ahead and before I can actually discuss like the top levers I recommend, we first gotta understand like what a Korean lever is. So here you have a grommet. It's a silicone or rubber grommet. It's almost always silicone though. So that's what takes place of the spring. It doesn't use a spring, it uses a grommet. So you have a bobbin that goes in the middle of the grommet here. And the shaft, bat top, actuator. You have an E-clip that keeps on the actuator. You have the lower body that the grommet and bobbin will sit in here. And you have the upper body, which goes on top. And you'll have a mounting plate on top of this, so you can screw it into your arcade stick. And you'll have micro switches here on the bottom. So yeah, that's what makes up a Korean lever. You can use a ball top, but most of the time they come with bat tops. But you could screw on a ball top or buy a shaft that has a ball top on top. So that's definitely an option if you really like ball tops. But generally speaking, the Korean levers use bat tops. Something else I want to point out as well. So this on the left here, this is what we call a Fanta style grommet. Like this shape is like the Fanta style. Here on the right, this is a crown grommet. Crown or Samduksa. It's the same company. It's just what they're known as in like Korea versus America. So just know like these are both grommets, but this is the Fanta style. This is the crown style. So another thing too is here you're gonna see me if I say like it's low tension, high tension, medium tension. This is what I'm referring to. Is just this is like the softest it is. This is the hardest it is, and here you have it sorted by different brands. So just keep in mind that whenever I talk about like this is like the stock tension with it, this is what I'm referring to. So I say definitely get a few extra grommets. Just try out different tensions, high tension, low tension, all that stuff whenever you try one out, just to see what your preferences are. And again, like I said, when I refer to that, I'm referring to what comes with stock. You can change out the grommets really easily. So just kind of know that ahead of time. So with that being said, one last thing I want to cover. So Korean levers, they don't have gates at the bottom, but they have collars here at the top. So most of them are like, they will feel like they have a circle gate, for lack of a better word, for the Japanese lever players. But again, they don't have a gate, but they do have a collar. So that shape kind of provides more feel as to like what kind of shape it is. But there's a few different collar types. Not just like circle or squircle or octa or any of that stuff. Those fancy collar mods that ASI makes. There's another type of different collar. So here, this is a low collar. So here, like, it's a 35mm hole, and it comes up a little bit, but not all the way. So this is a chopped collar, cut collar, anything like that. That's referring to a low collar. So down here, you'll see this is a no collar because it is flat across the top. There's no collar that sticks out. And then lastly, you have a full collar. So this is a 35mm. This comes up all the way up. This will come up through your arcade stick. So for this to work on most arcade sticks, you have to drill out a 35mm hole, or you'll have to invest money into buying a low collar mod so it can fit into a Japanese arcade stick. So just know that ahead of time. Just be aware of that. So I would say for a beginner, there's a 99% chance you're looking for a low collar or a no collar lever. So just want to get that out of the way. All right, so now that we've kind of prefaced the basics, let's get into the actual top 10. So number 1, Crown 309 NewHelpMe. You could say this is the best like sub $50 lever, best non-premium lever, best sub $40 lever. It's fantastic. So a few things like this are really good. So I guess for stars, the characteristics here. This is a short throw, medium, light tension. I personally like long throw, but the short throw is probably better for you if you come from a Japanese lever. Something else to keep in mind is a short throw for a Korean lever is still longer than like the long throw Japanese levers. So it's not exactly like a 1-to-1 comparison. So just know that ahead of time. This is if you played a lot on Japanese levers, this is gonna feel long to you. So yeah, these are the characteristics of it. Again, they might suit your preferences, they might not. Again, this is all thing that's like, there's no objective like best. It's like what's better, short throw, long throw. It's all just personal preference, what you like, what you prefer. So you can get this from Focus Attack, Paradise, or IST. So the pros here, it's a great bridge lever between Japanese and Korean levers because of the shorter throw and some of the characteristics. But a drawback of that is it doesn't give you like this like quote-unquote authentic or classic Korean lever experience. It is still a Korean lever. Don't let anyone like gatekeep that from you. It's great. But it has been like quote-unquote like westernized, and since it is shorter throw, it really doesn't feel like a Korean lever, but it feels like kind of a hybrid between a Japanese and Korean lever, in my personal opinion. And I know it should among some people, but again, there's nothing wrong with it. It's a great lever, but I would say just kind of know that ahead of time. So another couple pros of this, it has a special bobbin here that grips the shaft tighter, so there's less spin with the bat top. I personally really like that. Some people, they don't mind shaft spin, some people hate it. It's all personal preference, but just know like this bobbin does grip the shaft tighter, which is pretty nice. Because I think the crown, personally, I think the crown bobbins, they let it spin a little too much for me, but the NewHelpMe one feels great. So another thing is it has these nice switches. So these are Gersung NewHelpMe A3s. So they have this bigger hinge than the regular A3s, so they give more feedback. NewHelpMe A3s, top 3 micro switch for me. They're great. The Gersung A3s regular are like a top 8 for me, but you know, like I said, the NewHelpMe A3s are just definitely better, like undisputedly in my opinion. So I would just like to point that out. And it's like this has some nice micro switches, some really nice micro switches. Like I said, I haven't met a single person that hasn't liked the NewHelpMe A3s. They are pretty dang nice. Number 2, the Crown 309 MJ. So this is basically a the think of the NewHelpMe, but without like some of like the bells and whistles. That's kind of what the MJ is. So if you couldn't get the NewHelpMe, I would say go with the MJ. So again, this is a $25 to $35 lever, short throw, medium, light tension. You get this from Focus Attack or IST. So this again is easy to adjust to, coming from like a JLF or any Japanese lever. It's affordable, and the quality's not bad. It's nothing special, but it's not bad. But again, at that price point, you can't really expect a whole lot of special things. It does have a worse bobbin, so it has more shaft spin. And the Gersung A3s are worse than the NewHelpMe A3s, but they're not bad. So just know that ahead of time that basically the NewHelpMe is the basically kitted out version compared to the MJ. So if you couldn't get the NewHelpMe for whatever reason, go with the MJ. Another thing I want to point out too here is so this number here refers to the series of levers. This is the 309 series. And then M refers to having a half collar. And then the J here refers to the Japanese mount. So if you saw K, that would be like a full collar, and it has a Korean mount, so it wouldn't fit on like the Japanese arcade stick or an arcade stick made for Japanese levers. Something else would be so there's like an FJ that's like flush. So there's no like half collar here. It's just flat across the top. So whenever you look at a crown lever, you can kind of tell what it is based on like the number series and these this notation. So it's like a mid collar Japanese mount. I don't know if that's like officially what it means, but that's just how I tell it to myself in my head because that makes sense. So number 3, we got the Alpha 47C. So this is a $25 to $35 lever. It has like a medium long throw, medium tension. Gets from Arcade Shocker IST. It provides a more classic feel, a more authentic Korean lever feel, while being on a budget. 32 is not bad at all. And it can be replaced with high quality parts really easily in the future. So that's a big plus. All Korean levers are really customizable, really like moddable, which is like one of my favorite things about them. But I know in particular, like, you know, IST makes this aluminum shaft that I personally use on my alphas. So you have like a few more options here as far as like what you want to do, as far as I know. I mostly play on like a Fanta style lever, so I'm not too familiar with the crowns, although I have owned every single lever on this top 10. So a con of this though is, okay, the bat top is glued to the shaft. So if you ever want to like take off this bat top, you can. It's just a process. You're gonna put in some work for it, but it's definitely is possible. And also it's a Sanwa bat top. So I personally don't like the Sanwa bat tops. Objectively, I think they're worse quality than the IST bat tops. IST is the company that makes this lever. So definitely, so it's not, again, it's not like the best lever, but I mean, it's pretty solid pickup, and it's a good introduction into Fanta style levers, in my opinion. So it's definitely it's top 3 worthy. It's a pretty solid lever. So now here you have the Crown 309 Benylis. I think I'm saying this correctly. If I'm not, please correct me in the comments. So here, it's a short throw, and this is a high tension instead of like the medium tension in the MJ or HelpMe. So here you get this from Focus Attack, Paradise, or IST. Again, like all the Crown 309 series, it's a nice bridge from Japanese levers to Korean levers, and it has a unique experience because the high tension grommet and the micro switches are different. So again, it has a different bushing or, you know, grommet than the 309 NewHelpMe. So the shaft spins quite a bit. It spun a lot in my Benylis, which is one of the reasons I sold it. But overall, I mean, again, if that's not a deal breaker to you, then it might be worth it. So the other thing too is it has Starion switches, which Starion switches aren't bad, but they are generally less liked than Gersung A3s that have been on the previous 3 levers, and or 2 of the previous 3, even the NewHelpMe A3s that come on the NewHelpMe. So it's all gonna, like, micro switches are all personal preference. I personally like Starions. I don't think they're bad at all, but you might like them less than the Gersung A3s. I would say those are kind of around the same level for me personally. I would say the Gersung A3s are a little bit better, personally, but it's all, again, personal preference. But I do think the NewHelpMe A3s are better than the Starions. Most people I know would agree with that. Actually, I don't know a single person that wouldn't. But again, all personal preference, so just kind of take that with a grain of salt. But regardless, it is a good lever. It is unique. It's one of the first levers I really played on a lot. So if you got it for a good deal, I would say it's definitely worth picking up if you could find one for cheap. So now we're going on to that. So there's the S tier levers. Now we're moving on to the A tier levers. So here we have the Taeyoung Fanta and the Myoungshin Fanta. So here is the low collar Taeyoung Fanta. This is a $32 to $40 lever. It's a long throw. It is the longest among short collar levers, if I'm not mistaken. It's pretty dang long. It's medium tension as well. You get this from Focus Attack or a Toki. So it's a solid lever for the price point. And it has a 2-sided actuator, so it provides different experiences for players. So that's nice, and I'll get into more about what that does. So overall, it's not bad. Oh, this bat top material is hit or miss. I personally didn't like it, but I know some people who really liked it. So I would just say kind of be aware of that. It's something you may like, may not. Oh, the cons here. So it is difficult to feel corners, which sucks, especially if you come from like a square gate, or if you use like the Saimitsu Octo gate, so you're used to having like a pretty solid corner. Like now your corners feel small. And you have the 2-sided actuator, so to use the big side, you have a bigger corner, but it isn't as deep. So if you have the smaller side actuator on there, it you can feel the corners better in the sense like the corner is deeper, but the corner is smaller. So it doesn't really like address that, which kind of sucks. So it's just say like know that ahead of time. Like that's why I keep it out of S tier, is because of like how difficult it is to feel corners. That's one of the reasons. So another thing here is the Gersung A2 switches are widely considered to be bad. I don't know a single person that actually likes these. I personally could not stand them. They feel just anemic. I would say you should definitely replace these with like Starians, Gersung A3s, or NewHelpMe A3s. You almost, or Omron A5s or A6s. Those are like just 5 micro switches off the top of my head I would recommend to you. They almost certainly need to be replaced to achieve an optimal feel with this lever. So that kind of sucks. Again, I don't know a single person who likes Gersung A2s. They're pretty bad. So another thing here is the lower body. So it has spots for hex nuts, like that's how it screws in. And they're too big, so the plastic will strip out. So let me explain this a little bit better and more in detail. So here you have the screw that comes through the mounting plate, upper, lower body, and then it comes out down here. So it screws into a hex nut. The hex nut sits in this lower body here, and like that's what it screws into. But because like Itoki made the hex nut spots too big, every time you go to unscrew this, your hex nut will start to rotate, and it will result in stripping of the lower body plastic. So, I mean, best case scenario is it gets wedged in there, and then they never fall out, and they don't move or anything like that, and they just kind of get stuck. Worst case scenario is they do fall out. They do get removed. And as a result, now every time you go to, now you're going to have to like do some serious work to make your hex nut fit. So I owned 3 of these. 1 full collar, 2 low collar, and they all have this issue. So I believe it's like an issue with like Itoki and like this mold that they use for the lower body. So just be aware of that. Don't repeatedly mod it. If you do it a couple times, it should be fine. But definitely be aware of that. Definitely be aware of that. Moving on to number 6. This is the Myoungshin Fanta. So, this is actually the lever I started on, but it's definitely not the one I would recommend for starters. So here, more so we were talking about the 2019 model. There are some differences between the years. If you want a 2018, you have to go to Korea, through IST and buy all the individual parts for it. If you're getting pre-2018, those are really hard to come by. So know for like just the sake of like keeping it simple here, we're talking about the 2019 model, and that's the most likely one you're going to find. So this is in the $18 to $28 price range. So it's pretty cheap. It's short throw. It's full collar only, like I said, unless you go through like ASI or use like the Bandit Fujin mod to get a upper body or a different upper body that will fit this. And it has a unique feel in the way it builds tension. That's pretty neat. I personally like it. Not my favorite, but I do like it. You can get this from Focus Attack, Paradise Shop, Arcade Shop, or IST. So it's pretty cheap, and it has some solid quality parts. Like the Gersung A3s are pretty. I like them. The bat top is kind of hit or miss. I don't like it for like long sessions because it's like your hand gets sweaty, and this material doesn't do well with that. But overall, I don't mind the feel. I like it. It's just not my favorite, especially for long sets. So I would just kind of know that ahead of time. You might be better off to replace, get a different shaft and bat top. Something else here. So here are the cons. So it won't fit in your stick unless you drill out a 35mm hole, because 90% of sticks don't have the 35mm hole for a Korean lever. So you're gonna have to either, like I said, either buy a low collar mod. That's quite a bit of money. Or you're going to have to drill out the hole yourself. Something else here. The lower body. So it has a plastic mold here made for the Korean mount, resulting in a need to drill or cut out parts of the lower body. So to explain what a Korean mount is real quick, think of a Japanese mount. How this up here is the top, and this down here is the bottom, right? So you just mount that in your arcade stick. So Korean mount is horizontal, whereas the Japanese is vertical. So a Korean mount will go in where like this side right here is the top, even this side down here is the bottom. And instead of going through like these holes up here, it will go through these 4 holes on the corner. So they put this extended plastic thinking like, oh, you use it for a Korean lever or Korean like arcade stick, but it covers up these Sanwa mounting holes. So for you to make this actually even fit on a Sanwa mounting hole, you're gonna have to cut off this extended plastic. So just keep that in mind and know that ahead of time. Again, that's not a big deal, it's not the end of the world, but just know you're gonna have to put in some work for that. Moving on to the B tier levers. Number 7, Alpha 49S. This is basically an improved and more expensive version of the 47C. It's $40 to $50. It's a medium long throw, it's medium tension. You get from Arcade Shock, Paradise Arcade Shop, or IST. So the pros, it's arguably the best non-premium Fanta lever available. And the IST bat top feels very nice. I personally love IST bat tops. Most people I know really like them. I haven't met a single person who's like, oh, I don't like those, you know, if they're not their favorite per se. So I would just say, just know that ahead of time. So it's nice. It's a nice bat top. It might not be your favorite, but generally they're pretty well liked. And the cons here, the Omron A5 switches are hit or miss. You might need to replace those. So personally, I don't like soft switches. So I put NewHelpMe A3s on here, and I loved it. It's the first lever I really fell in love with. So you might like them. Objectively, I think the Omron A5 switches are not bad quality. They just don't suit my preferences. So just keep that in mind. I would say go ahead and pick up another set of micro switches if you were getting this lever to try it out. NewHelpMe A3s, Starians, or Gersung A3s is what I would, or Omron A6s are what I would recommend. Because the Omron A5s are soft. So I would say you want to get something a bit more stiff than that just to see what your preference is when it comes to switches. So, you know you might need to replace those just because they don't suit your preference. So number 8, Fujin V3. Fujin V3 it's pretty great, but it's not beginner friendly. So you this in the $55 to $60 price range. It is a long throw, very stiff and responsive. It is snappy and it has clear corners. We'll get into why in a second. It goes from Focus Attack, Arcade Shock, Paradise, or IST. It is high quality. It is responsive. It's snappy. It's stiff. It has a truncated circle. So basically, instead of thinking of how a normal circle is like this, this has like cut corners. So it's like it's almost like it's kind of it's been squared off, I guess is the best way to say it. It has like a lines on the bottom for it, so you can really feel the corners. So it's like a straight edge instead of like a rounded edge. So just to keep that in mind. So I really like the truncated circle. It provides a good feel for the corners. It has a unique frosted bat top. Not my favorite, but I do think it is overall a unique. It's a unique bat top. It's not my favorite, but it's not bad either. You get a 7mm shaft as well from IST or Arcade Shock. It comes stock with the 7.8. But it is nice you can get the 7mm one to have the different experiences to see if you want like the longer throw or like the regular throw. The 7.8 is still like a longer throw, but the 7mm is like really long. It might suit your preferences, it might not. So personally, I think this is the top 5 lever stock. It could be a potential in-game lever for you, but because it's a nice product. It's a great product, but it's not beginner friendly. So like I said, if you're a beginner, the top 5 are really like what's the ones for you. But I figured if you saw these other levers, I would just go ahead and cover them anyway. So the cons here, so it won't fit in most sticks because of the full collar. So you got to drill a 35mm hole. Another thing is as well is if you do want it to become low collar, you need Bandit's Fujin mod, which is $45. So that's a $100 lever right there. I have used it, and with the low collar and the full collar, they're both pretty great. I'm more of a low collar person, so I currently run the Fujin mod on mine, but it's a great lever. It's not bad at all. But again, it might not be your preference, so just keep that in mind. And also, it is very expensive because that is a $100 lever. So another thing as well is it uses the acrylic screws here at the bottom for the micro switches instead of like metal screws. So they can be prone to breaking. So you got to be like very careful to change out these micro switches. So just know that ahead of time as well. And also, it is a bit pricey because of, you know, not only the $55 price tag, but if you go to make it a low collar, then that's a $100 lever right there. So it is a bit pricey, but it's a nice lever. Not beginner friendly, but I would say this is maybe like the 3rd to 5th lever you should pick up. You should definitely pick up an alpha style lever, or at least the low collar Taeyoung Fanta, just to kind of get a feel for it before you jump into the Fujin. But the Fujin is pretty nice. It's high quality. So number 9, you got the knee lever. Maybe I should, on second thought, maybe I should have put this ahead of the Fujin. But I feel like I've covered some other alpha levers that the knee lever would go behind it. So here, this is basically a Rox branded Alpha 49S, but it has a couple unique things I'll get into. So it has a medium long throw. It's medium low tension. So you get this from Focus Attack, Arcade Shock, or Paradise Arcade Shop, or IST. So the aluminum shaft is nice. I love it. This is like my favorite aluminum like my favorite shaft in general. I run this on like so many of my levers. It also has like this round, flat part here. So it comes with a 6mm wrench, so you can just unscrew the bat top really easily. So that's nice. You don't have to, like, open up your stick to, put a Phillips head on the bottom here to screw it on and off. It's just, right there. So that's nice. The aluminum is like light. It's high quality. It's good stuff. So the knee lever has a knee bobbin that's a little different from the Alpha 49S bobbin. So it's a bit oversized, so it gives more tension to the grommet. So that's nice. Another thing too is the knee grommet is like low tension, but it is snappy. So it's nice, but there are some quality control issues. So if you have a bad knee bobbin, then it's gonna feel like kind of a bleh lever. But if you have a good knee bobbin, you're gonna be like, okay, wow, this is nice. So I would just say know that ahead of time. And it is pricey, because $60 to $72, and it's the poor QC can result in a suboptimal feeling with the grommet and result the entire lever as a whole. It also has Omron A5s, so you might want to change those. Because this is like a Rox branded Alpha 49S, just with the knee bobbin and knee grommet, really. I want to say the other thing, so on my knee lever, I personally replaced the Omron A5s with Starians for 2D games. I quite like it, but again, all personal preference. You might really like Omron A5s. So just know that ahead of time. I would say if you're going to get this, I would say go ahead and get a set of like NewHelpMe A3s, just to see what your preferences are. So last but not least, on the Alpha N, this top 10 list, I have the I have the Alpha N. So this is a fully machined Alpha 49S. So this is basically just a higher quality Alpha 49S. When you hold the Alpha 49S and you hold the Alpha N, you can just be like, wow, okay, this thing, like, it weighs more. You can just tell this is a higher quality product. Then as a result, it has a higher price tag. So it's like for $64 to $70. And it's like a medium long throw, medium tension. This is from Arcade Shock or IST. It's a fully machined body, so it's the highest quality alpha lever available objectively. It also has, so the alpha levers come with a 15.5mm actuator. The Alpha N offers a 15.3, so that's nice that you have like a couple different options. The IST bat top feels nice as well. I love it. Might not be your favorite, but I think objectively it's not bad at all. Most people I know like it. So the cons here are it's pricey. The machine parts are not compatible in some cases with the plastic mold parts. So on mine personally, I tried to put a Fujin full collar on it, and it didn't work. but I saw pictures of someone who did make it work, so I don't know if, like, what exactly the deal is. I would say don't buy this lever with the intention of it of you being able to like change out some of the plastic mold parts. So thinking like a lot of things too is like, so a lot of these products are made by IST here, like the whole Alpha series, and so it's like the Fujin. So for example, you can take this collar here on the Fujin, and you could put it on an Alpha 49S if you chose to, because of, like, the interchangeable parts, like the dimensions and stuff, all line up. But on my Alpha N, they personally didn't. So I'm not sure exactly why, because I've only seen like pictures of it. But from my personal experience, it just didn't fit. Because the dimensions on the Alpha, the machine body, are a bit smaller, if I remember correctly. They're just different, at least. They're definitely different. So, or at least in my experience. So, like I said, it might work, it might not. In my personal experience, it didn't. So I'd say don't expect it to work. So yeah, with that being said, oh, last thing. So the C-tier levers, I would say, is any premium lever. Don't be looking at premium levers. This is your first lever. They're very expensive. They can be hard to acquire. And if you don't know your preferences, it's not a smart investment. So just kind of keep that in mind. Also, you won't know how to like optimize your setup if you don't have like experience with some other previous levers, at least in my opinion. So I would just say kind of know that ahead of time. So again, these premium levers are like objectively some of the highest quality levers on top of just like my favorites, but they definitely are not what you should be looking at for your first lever. So again, really these top 5 are the ones you should look at. It's just like the NewHelpMe, and the 39MJ and the Alpha 47C. Those are like the biggest ones. Like that's the big 3 right there I would recommend to you. So yeah, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please provide your own perspective in the comment section below. If I said anything wrong or mispronounced anything, go ahead, feel free to correct me. Let me know how I can improve. I will be linking all the websites where you can buy these products from, and I'll be linking a link to the Korean Grommet Sniffers Discord server. So I got a bunch of us Korean lever enthusiasts in there. We'll be happy to help you. Also, you can use the search function in the Discord. We've probably answered about every question you can think of. But either way, it's a good community. So if you have any other additional questions and whatnot, feel free to pop in there and ask a question. So that being said, hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you found it helpful. If you have any questions in the comments, let me know. I will try to respond to those as well. With that being said, I hope you have a great day. Thanks again. Gemini out.